Let's perform a little thought experiment. I would like you to imagine two men in two houses. Each house is built on an identical floor plan that is faced so that they're facing away from each other. The front doors and garages are facing outwards, and they both share a small little backyard. You can imagine they're in a crowded suburban environment. And instead of a fence in between their two houses, there's an old oak tree, old and tall, with a big, frilly, bushy top. One of those men has lived in this house since he was a child. It was his parents' house and their parents before them. The man living in their house had just moved in and is still making big plans for his future. And because of the identical floor plans and the way they're faced, both can spend their mornings having some coffee, looking out the big, gorgeous bay window and looking upon this tree that's to them sitting in their backyard. But they have two very different opinions of the tree. For one thing, they only ever really see the one side of the tree through their window, and they start to develop different ways of thinking about the tree. You know, one thinks the tree is just kind of a random whim of nature that just happened to grow there. The other one thinks of it as this remarkable statement on adaptive trial and error. To one of them, the way the branches lean over towards the house, it makes it seem ominous and weighty, and every time the wind blows, they feel nervous watching these great big branches blow back and forth so close to their house. And in the night, they can start having, paranoid dreams about the tree cracking and falling in a heavy wind and falling upon their home, destroying everything they've built, and if not, killing them in the night. Whereas the person in the other house, who's been around this tree most of their life, has kept the branches a bit more pruned on their side so they don't overhang quite so dramatically, and he's able to have a clearer view into the canopy and see all the little squirrels and birds that live their lives there. And this man, he sits there looking out his window, and he imagines all the weird little fun, adventurous lives that these little critters have in the tree, and he thinks of it as a thing of interest and beauty, whereas his neighbor views the same tree as a looming threat that inevitably has to be dealt with. And so one day, both of the men go out into their backyard to go take a closer look at the tree. And upon meeting each other, an argument ensues over whether or not the tree is a threat. The man who feels that the tree is an imminent doom upon him and his house is likely the one that starts the argument. The man who's more familiar with the tree might peek around the side into the neighbor's yard to see what they're talking about, and he'll probably be like, you're worrying too much, it'll be fine. Just prune it a little. Whereas the person who's worried about it isn't willing to come around and see the other side of the tree from the man that likes the tree. But the man who doesn't like the tree and is afraid of the tree starts to make demands about having the tree cut down and removed. And this alarms the man who loves the tree. So he builds a big, heavy, tall iron fence all around the tree and puts up security cameras to keep an eye on it to make sure the guy doesn't try to come up and pick the locks to get to the tree and try to cut it down. And both storm off back to their houses. And this simmers in the man who hates the tree. He can't get past the iron gate. He'll be seen because of the cameras. But eventually he does hit upon the plan of why not just poison the groundwater and kill the tree slowly. And so he does so. The tree dies, becomes hollowed out. The leaves fall. Inevitably, even the person who is trying to save the tree sees the inevitability of what's coming, and so has some people come out to dismantle the tree and tear it down. And now both men have nothing but each other to look at when they stare out their windows in their mornings, sipping their coffee with this ever-growing level of hate within their minds for one another over the memory of the tree that was in their imagination. Never at any point did either ever consider how the tree felt, or the creatures that were living in the tree, or their opinions on exactly what they were and what was going on. And so comment below what the hell you think that I'm talking about, and stay waspinated.